Hello there, I'd like to welcome everyone to my first ever stand-up comedy performance. And there's nobody in attendance tonight. That's because of COVID. You know, COVID restrictions. Yeah, that's a ticket, as John Lovitz would say. I have to clear that up, but that's not my joke. That's a John Lovitz joke. Because John Lovitz, people's got a lot of really good lawyers among them. And because I said good, I don't have to worry about that being hate speech. Because hate speech is a bigger crime than plagiarism. We know that much, but I wouldn't say it sounds like as good of a legal term. Plagiarism, that sounds like a legal term. Hate speech, I don't know. It doesn't sound like a legal term, and it kind of bothers me that it's a legal term. Not that it's a crime. It should definitely be a crime, and it should be a punishable crime. But it should have a more legal sounding name almost, I feel like, because if you think about it, what is a lawyer's job? Is as a translator. You know, you got stuff like habeas corpus and pro terram bium and stuff. I mean, I don't know the terms. That's the point. I don't know the legal jargon. And they do. That's how they earn their money. They got to go in there and translate, because you tell your lawyer your side of the case, and the lawyer explains it to the judge in the legal jargon. Now, you can't just tell the judge your side of the case because they don't understand it. You don't speak the legal jargon. And even though they went to the same schools as the lawyers went to, they got so smart in the legal jargon that they can't understand you. So you need that intermediate person who knows just enough of the legal stuff but still knows enough of the rest. So that's what they're doing. They're translating for you. So then you got hate speech, though. And hate speech is like, well, Your Honor, the defendant did this to my client because he hates him. He hates his mom, his dad, he hates his family, he hates his ancestors, he hates them. He's did that because he hates them. Lawyer, judge, see, I could, anybody can understand that, right? But anyhow, so it's a crime. Now, if that's a crime, you can almost have a defense like this. The judge would be like, "Sir, defendant, what do you have to say to that?" And the defense rises and says, "Well, no, sir, Your Honor, he didn't do it out of hate. He was having a bad hair day." And the judge rules on the decision and says, "Can we just settle on it being a dickhead move?" You know, so is that what it's deteriorating to with the legal jargon? And we're just getting down to hate speech, but it should definitely be a crime. And, you know, because you can't, and you notice, though I'm talking about the lawyers, and I tied it in with the Lovitz and his people, but I don't throw around the three-letter J word. I just don't do it. I'm not going to say John Lovitz was a Hebrew man of the Jewish faith. That's what I say, because I'll go with a few extra syllables to avoid saying something that's later going to be, because at once upon a time, you know, the N-word, people tossed it around casually. And yes, if you are a Hebrew person of the Jewish faith, you call yourself what you want to. I'm not going to say that word. The three-letter word, because it just doesn't sound right coming off someone's tongue. I've heard it said with hatefulness in it, and you can't really say Hebrew person of the Jewish faith in a hateful way, because you wouldn't go, if you're full of hate, you can't take the time to say that. I'll go the extra measure to prove that's not what my motivation. My motivation is be careful. Don't be careful what you say. That's what you should do. Be careful what you say, because you know that look what happened with the N-word. And let's, for the sake of it, let's say jogger. Look, I know nobody was called a jogger, but because nobody's been called a jogger out of hate, it hasn't been associated with hate. I'm going to use it in place of the N-word now. But once upon a time, you know, if you're white, you have most likely had a family member that was casually referred to a black person as a jogger. And they just did it, and they didn't think anything of it. But now if you hear that today, that casual speech, even if it doesn't sound hateful, it's the casualness of saying those joggers and this joggers. And it doesn't, even though it was acceptable in their time, you cannot hear a recording of them talking like that without thinking that person is racist. So I'm not going to allow that to happen to me, saying the J word. I will say Hebrew person of the Jewish faith. Because I'd rather come across as ignorant than come across as hateful, because that's less of a crime. And as a white person, you could very well, that could be on a job application at some point. Be like, you check race, white, and the next question, are you ignorant white or are you hateful white? It's only the two kinds. I mean, that could be what the trend is going to, so you got to be careful. And I don't want to add to the appropriation of that or the speeding up of that process by being ignorant or hateful. Because you don't want to be in court saying, Your Honor, my client pleads ignorance, he didn't know better. And if you know in your heart you know better, you better just know better. Because look, that's why you got to be careful. I'm being careful about what's going on. I heard this week, Whoopi Goldberg, okay, it looks like a trap the whole way around to me to even touch on the subject, because, I mean, I don't understand, I don't know. See, when you talk about whites and blacks and stuff like that, you got to be careful, because then you got the Hebrew people of the Jewish faith that look white, but I don't even know if they're legally white. I think that's up to them to decide, because we know that it's considered a race, because that's what Whoopi got in trouble for, and supposedly in trouble, being punished with 2 weeks off of work is what she's going through right now for what she did. What she did is tricky to touch on, because first of all, she looks black, but her last name is Goldberg, and she's a woman, and it just looks like a touchy subject the whole way around, because what she said that got her into trouble was that it wasn't out of Hitler. What Hitler did couldn't have been based on anything other than racism. Therefore, it couldn't be because of religion. If you do anything bad to a Hebrew person of the Jewish faith, more than one of them, it's obviously, like you do it in a mass group like that, it's obviously, if they're a race, which legally it's been decided that they are, then it was a racist act. So that's what Whoopi is. But I kind of feel like Whoopi's sitting there in front of her computer being like, say something. Say anything. Because you come at that, there's no way to come at that. I won't come at it. Is it okay though? Is it okay to just say that the view sucks? I mean, it's like as divisive as Donald Trump. You see, every coin has its flip side. I kind of feel like Donald Trump and the View. The Donald Trump and the View, they're the flip side of the same damn coin. That's just divisive as hell, and I don't like either one of them. So, I mean, the Trump or I'm not one of any fans here, because I'm talking about walking the fence there. I don't like the View or Donald Trump. I think they both suck. I think they're both divisive as hell. But anyhow, that's just me. Now, as far as you couldn't be out anything other than racism, I don't think you could say that you have something against the Hebrew people of Jewish faith, because they're the chosen people, and it bugs you. It bugs you that they think they're the chosen people. Either one. I think you probably do better with saying that they're the chosen people and it bugs you. You might be able to get away with that, because then you get a little bit, I don't think they'd call you, it's not hate speech, it's envy and jealousy. That's what you'd be. Okay, I'm just a jealous white guy. But you can't say that you don't want us. I don't want American troops over there fighting Israel's wars. It can't be because of that you have trouble with them, because it's too many of them for it to not be racist. So just don't say enough, I guess, is what's going on there. But anyhow, I personally can't be accused of hatred against the Hebrew people of the Jewish faith, because I couldn't be honest with you or myself if I didn't admit that some of my best inspiration has come from Hebrew people of the Jewish faith. What I'm standing here doing now, nobody can do it unless I don't think anybody could spend any time doing it or really have put a lot of thought into it if they don't know that Lenny Bruce is one of the founding blocks of what it is, because he invented the type of comedy where you touch as close to what you could say, what you can't say as possible. And he got put in jail before he went over the line with it. He was a Hebrew person of the Jewish faith. Now, he had legal troubles, which is confusing there, because you would think he'd had the backing of the people to get him out of his people, to get him out of the cuss words. Because I hope it's okay to say that a lot of very successful and powerful lawyers and judges amongst their people. But they didn't get him out of trouble, and it could have been because, yes, he said the cuss words, but he didn't win a bunch of support amongst his own people. It's like, I'm not winning support amongst my people, but not like a Donald Trump. He didn't have support amongst his people because, well, I don't know. I'm not part of those people, so it's not sure I can say it. I'm trying the edge about saying it, but he made some jokes that could have caught him some pressure from the inside. For example, he said he had tattoos on his arm, and it bothered his family because he couldn't be buried in a Jewish cemetery because you can't have tattoos on your body to defile your body, break the laws of Moses. But he couldn't understand. He said he couldn't understand why he couldn't just cut off his arm, bury him in a Jewish cemetery, and then bury his arm in a Gentile cemetery. And he said Jack Ruby was a Hebrew person of Jewish descent. Of course, he used the J word. It's loud, but he said that, which probably didn't appreciate him keep pointing that out necessarily. Well, at least not the way he did it. At the time, it was probably just okay to point it out because a lot of people were in favor of anybody shot Oswald. But now you got people with conspiracy theorist minds like, okay, he was he? But in his time, it wasn't that was the part. He said that the reason why Ruby may have done it was because he wanted to look tough for the Irish Catholics. So, but anyhow, so he pointed that out. And then, what was the other one he said? Got him in a little bit of trouble. Oh yeah, he said he kind of was envious of Christians because they have paintings of their God, and he looked like a pretty nice guy. You know, casual little jokes like that, but it was at a time where you didn't touch on those topics. Anyhow, the guy faced a lot, so I can't say I haven't been inspired by him doing that, because it's very inspiring. He's a very funny, hilarious guy. And another one who's probably more of a long-term and ongoing contemporary artist who's affected my life a lot and caused me a lot of inspiration is Bob Dylan. And now Bob Dylan's inspiration actually caused me to recall Lenny Bruce, because Bob Dylan has a song called Lenny Bruce, and it's on one of his Christian albums, okay, which is not a Christian song, because Lenny Bruce never converted to Christianity, as far as I know, nothing like that. But it's on one of his Christian albums, and I think I could always feel like, I know almost that he was feeling, he related to Lenny at that time because he could relate to having pressure within his own people, and yet still love his own people, and especially love his own people that had faced that pressure from within like he was facing. Although I'm not saying that Lenny Bruce was executed. I am saying that he died of a lethal injection in the state of California. You can look that part up, but legally, technically, there was no witnesses, so it is to be assumed that he did it himself, or that's what, there was no ruling otherwise that he did it himself. But that's how he died. Now, Dylan, nobody killed him, but it almost feels like with that pressure that they were feeling, it's almost, and that it's not like in being in the mob. Okay, I clear that up. It's not. It's kind of like you think you can get out, but you get pulled back in. You can't leave. You can't just walk away that easy. Like, you don't have to be a practicing person of the Jewish faith to still be a Hebrew person of the Jewish faith, because ancestry-wise, therefore, it is what it is. And it should be, you better, if you're not of it, you better regard it as a race, or you're going to get yourself in trouble. So don't hate. That's simple enough there. But so, yeah, Bob Dylan. They didn't kill Bob Dylan, though. Nobody killed Bob Dylan. It almost seemed like an out, at least not to be killed, because you think maybe they're just like, we can't kill him now because if we do, he's just gonna go to heaven. Let's just make his life hell on earth. No. It's racist if you think that. If you think that, you're a racist son of a bitch. And by son of a bitch, the way I mean the word bitch is a man who doesn't stand up for women's rights. That's a bitch in my book. That's the way I term the word bitch. A white male who doesn't stand up for women's rights, that's a doggone bitch, if you ask me. That's what I mean by it. And wouldn't it be cool, though, to find out, with what we've learned about words, and wouldn't it be cool to find out that it was a black person that perpetuated, that used the word jogger, was a plot by some very clever, super intelligent, far-thinking head black person that's like, slave person's like, hey, go over and get, the slave owner tells the black man, he's like, go over and get that guy. Go tell him to come over here. And slave owner keeps pointing to the son of one of the slave owner, pointing to a white guy. He's like, no, go get the tall one. He's like, oh, you mean the jogger? Yeah, go get him. And so, one by one, slowly by slowly, wouldn't it be cool if they tricked them into calling them joggers, and then it spread out of the slavery ended and stuff like that, but they kept it going. It's like, and say there's only one black person, you say, hey, go get the black person. And you mean that dark-skinned white person there? No. Oh, you mean the jogger? Yes, the jogger. And then said it enough, got it going enough that's what every white person just casually said. Good evening, jogger. Hey, can you get the door for me, jogger? And then all at once, they executed the plan at perfect timing to where a guy's walking with his son into a store, and it's like, yeah, how you doing today, jogger? And then they turn to the little boy, he's like, I don't know why they call me that. And the little kid's like, what? Why? What? He's like, jogger. Do you know what that word means? And the little kid's like, I just thought it meant you were black. No, is that what your dad tells you? He's like, yeah, what does it mean? He's like, what is the worst possible thing you could think it means? The kid's like, you eat your boogers? And you do that to every little white kid. And you tell them, you ask them what's the worst thing they could think of. They say, and it means you sniff the cushions when people get up from them? Yes, that's what it means. And pretty soon you got a whole generation of white kids coming up being like, my dad's awful. He's an awful person. He calls them joggers all casually and stuff like that. But I know that's not what happened, but wouldn't it be cool for the black people if that's what they did? Now I give it to them, hey jogger. And it was a great plot, and wouldn't it even be even cooler for the black people? And if their intelligence is what taught the Hebrew people of Jewish descent when they came over, to teach them, to tell them, pick a word, call each other that, let them think it's okay to call. And that's when I'm worried about that three-letter J word. Now I know that it's not a plot like that, but hey, let's face it, something has made them improve their situation greatly, the Hebrew people of Jewish descent, because in Germany in the 40s, there were millions and millions of them in Germany. Hebrew people of the Jewish faith in Germany. So many of them that you could almost think that it was a colonial occupation. They had that types of numbers. It wasn't. They were not. But they had that type of numbers that you could almost think that. And they had no power in the government. The government did awful, horrible things to them. But yet in America, there's not nearly so many of them, and they've got a lot of power. So they've improved their situation a lot. And I mean, the vice president's husband is a Hebrew person of Jewish descent, as is the chief of staff, the Treasury Secretary, the Attorney General, the Director of National Intelligence, CIA deputy, and a Senate Majority Leader. All are Hebrew people of the Jewish faith. So they got the top positions, and a lot of them, you know. So I am very, very impressed by what they've accomplished with all that, and I am careful because I don't know what the rally, some rallies supposedly happened where people were like, 3-letter J words will not replace us, and like, I wouldn't be going around talking like that because I know they're not trying to replace me from my job at the sawmills, and that's not talking about they're going to come in and take my job from me. I'm worried about being replaced because if they, looks to me like they could just be like, okay, Biden, I mean, there's many people in the government that Biden, open up the borders, have them replaced with the Mexicans. That's what you need to be worried about. The Hebrew people of the Jewish faith not replacing you, but having your ass replaced. Because, look, if they can have American troops over in the Middle East helping expand the borders of Israel, and I'm not talking about just one party or the other party. Donald Trump signed papers that expanded the borders of Israel, and just today, Syria they got to share a border, and we had an attack on somebody in Syria with American forces. And if they can do that over there, they can sure as hell have a couple guys sent to my place. So, hey, I know the pecking order, and I'm not even talking about being like number 2 in the pecking order, right? Because I've seen Larry David. I've watched Curb Your Enthusiasm. I see what they got going on there with JB Smooth and that living arrangement. So we got the jogger, you know, the black people are not apparently above what I'm going to be. So I need to just be worried about not being ignorant or hateful piece of white trash cracker, because I'm already going to be a white trash cracker. I just need to not be ignorant and hateful. That's the best I can hope for. So I'll just do my shit and be careful, because I mean, hey, said that SWAT team go in there to some dude's house, said he was a top guy for ISIS, and took his ass out. And he was a top guy for ISIS, got taken out. I was living in an apartment, man. They could wipe me out easy. I got to stay by my one window to have a little daylight. So how hard would a bullet shot be to get me with? So I'll be careful, and you know, but not to criticize too much, but it almost seems like they could have taken care of that shit over there in the Middle East and deter a lot of people with ISIS just from a film crew. Because from the looks of that place, you know, it's like a duplex. There's not much of a lawn going on there or nothing. And get a film crew over there in that place and then go show it to the Arab kids and be like, look, do you really want to go through a whole organization where you're doing push-ups, running through the desert, being bossed around, being taught to blow yourself up, all to be in an organization where the very top guy in the whole of ISIS lives in a duplex with a kids' toys and clothes scattered all over the place? And wouldn't you rather go to work at Amazon where the top guy's shooting in outer space or something like that? All right, that's it for tonight. Love y'all. Go.